3, 2, 1.
This is the DBAD movement. You are listening to the Don't Be a Dickhead podcast, episode 24, with me, John Gilbert.
Me, Ian Thompson.
And me, Alex King.
Welcome along. So today we're going to be talking about lying.
Lying.
No, we really are.
Lol.
I'm rocking the dad jokes at the moment. If anything that's come out of lockdown, it's me being comfortable in my own skin with my dad jokes. Although there's been a bit of a sad development in that my 12-year-old is now getting really embarrassed by me. Whereas before he found it charmingly amusing, he now hates it. Aww. So that makes me even more determined to make this podcast a big success. Just to wind him up. So on the subject of lying then, I've got a question. Is lying always dickheadery?
I don't think it is.
I don't think
although
it is.
This opinion does get me into a lot of trouble with my partner Claire, as does anything on this podcast. But yeah, you see, I think there's good lies and bad lies, and I think good lies are okay.
Okay, so what's a good lie?
A good lie I've put down to aid someone or to simplify things. So you might give out a little good lie, it's not going to hurt anyone. It's just a good lie. It's just don't worry about that.
It's a good lie for yourself.
Well, it might be a good lie for yourself, or it might be a good lie for someone else. Like
you look nice.
You look lovely in that. Yeah.
Ian, you look great in those earphones. Oh, do you like my new long hair? Yes, John.
I pick up my friends' two little girls from school a couple of days a week to help with childcare and take them back to their house. And once, before the second one was born, I picked up the first one, was walking to Big Fun with her, and she was tired, so I put her on my shoulders. We were walking along, and she decided to go to sleep on my head. So she bent over and put her arms on my head and went to sleep. And I was like, Tilly, don't do that, because you're sort of pulling my hair. I can't really afford to lose any hair. And she was like, oh, Ian, you have a wonderful thick head of hair. And went on and just wouldn't quit telling me what wonderful thick hair I had, which was clearly a lie. But she meant well. It was a good lie.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we've had a comment from Pippa Clarkson, and she said, I think sometimes dickheadery comes from telling the truth. No one wants to know that actually the hairdresser did a better job last time.
That sounds like that's based on a real experience.
I feel like it is. But that's something that I think everyone does at the hairdresser. You look in the mirror and it's horrific, and do you like it? Yeah. And then get hurt and want to die.
Oh no.
You've never had that at a hairdresser where you haven't liked it and you've lied. Everybody's got to have done that.
I can only think of one occasion when that's happened to me, and I was very young, and I walked outside and cried, and my dad took me back in and said to the hairdresser, he's not happy, can we do this again?
Oh no.
I think you should always be honest to with your hairdresser.
You just never, if you just don't like it, you just never go back to them again.
Although I was once challenged on this. I mean, I won't name the business, but it's quite close to where you live, Ian. And Sally bought me, as a treat, one of these kind of full shave and haircut experience. Normally I just go to a Turkish barber, and I'm quite happy with that. In and out as quick as I can, not needing an appointment. What do you want, sir? Just short. That's fine. That's me. So this whole experience of taking about an hour and a half to go through my hair and having a shave and so on. Now, I'm not saying the girl had never done it before, but I've been shaving for years and I've never lacerated my face as many times as she had. And I'm just sitting there looking in the mirror, it's still bleeding from my face. And she went, so did you enjoy that? To which I went, no, not really.
Yeah. Oh, did you say no?
No, I said no, not really, because she needed to know. I mean, I waited till she put the razor blade away from my throat before divulging that level of honesty.
Yeah.
I said, to be honest, it hurt, and I don't think shaving's supposed to hurt, and I'm bleeding quite a lot from my face.
I would have probably been like, that was fantastic. Thank you so much.
That was fantastic.
I mean, it was awkward.
Just bleeding out.
Yeah. No, I wasn't bleeding so much that I was worried. And now I'm going to have to go to A&E. And I'm quite a rare blood type, so hopefully, for the sake of all of us, I'll survive this.
Did she ask for your blood type before she started shaving you?
No, she didn't. But I have to admit that looking back on that probably was dickheadery. I mean, I wasn't like sarcastic or nasty about it, but I was just like really honest. I was just like, to be honest, it hurt. I didn't really enjoy it. She did look a little crestfallen. I didn't like say, I think you should stop. This is not the profession for you. I know maybe you thought it was, but when you go home tonight, just, I don't know, Google a few other options.
Rethink.
So no, I'm not with you on that one. I think you should be on it. They need the feedback. How else are they going to improve?
I'm just trying to think of an occupation.
I've just not got the heart. I just can't. It's like with food at a restaurant. Even if I didn't enjoy it, I'll tell them that it was delicious.
Oh, I'll do that.
Even if there's pubes in it.
Yeah. More so.
Otherwise, you'd just be constantly complaining to restaurants. I say restaurants, wherever he goes to eat.
Yeah, just like vans, tips.
But I think there are certain circumstances where you get away with nice lies. Things like restaurants, maybe, if you don't want the person to be... like if you're in a restaurant and it's not great, but you can see that the waiter or the waitress is really rushed off the feet and they've had a really hard night and it's not been great for them. And, you might just say, like, yeah, it was fine. I mean, I don't think I'd go over the top, like Alex says, and go, like, it was amazing.
What I think I would do in that
so
situation is find a positive that was true. So when they say, did you enjoy your meal? And if I didn't enjoy my meal, but I'd say, oh, your service has been excellent, which is not answering the question.
Yeah,
but
fair.
let's say the service has been excellent. It's made them feel good.
That's good. So I suppose that corrects the circumstance thing.
Yeah. I mean, I could be more honest and go, well, you made the best of a bad situation. Well done, you. Here's your tip. Please don't let that get shared with anybody in the kitchen. They need to be going onto Google tonight to find other occupations. Maybe a shaver and a hairdresser, because I've discovered one of those that's inadequate. Maybe there should be some kind of swap.
Well, I was trying to think of an occupation that the hairdresser can go to where your job is to cut people's faces, but I'm struggling, I'll be honest.
Well, she could be like a heavy for a
What's
gang.
a heavy?
A heavy.
A heavy, right.
So she could be like a debt collector or something.
Yeah.
Your drop-off was light this week. And all I've got is this weird accent and an inability to shave properly. Now, if you don't want nicks all over your face, I suggest you pull your finger out. Like that.
Yeah, nice.
Did you like my acting?
Wow.
Yeah, it's excellent.
You're lying to me.
Where was you getting your hair done? Was you down south?
It was under a bridge next to the guy who cooks dead foxes.
Wow.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't. It was somewhere. It was somewhere in Hull, and the business is still going. And I won't name it because that's not fair. Because maybe I mean, I've got pretty bumpy face. It could
I
just
think
be
it's your
that.
fault,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Could be.
Bumpy face Gilbert.
Oh, here he comes.
Alice Dwyer, she said, when people lie about the most pointless things for no reason. So I guess, pointless lies are dickheadery, but I feel like everyone makes them. Do you not think?
So,
Like with lying, it's just part of I think it's part of life. It sounds dramatic when you say lying, because that seems like you're actually making up, like you're having an affair and you're lying and things. But just little white lies, I guess.
like you get odd ones, don't you? Like where kids will lie about things that they've got or where they've gone on holiday or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To sound better, and so that's sort of
Like when people lie about when they've met celebrities or they've done something amazing that they haven't really done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
mean,
don't really understand that.
Go on.
John said that like he was trying to get
I'm not
get
meaning,
one of
like
us
I've
to
just
then.
said, like trying to make people not feel bad and things like that in terms of lying.
I mean, imagine pretending to have met Danny Mills and asked him if he's from Leeds.
You can ask him. It's true. I bet he'd remember it. Claire, my partner, on the subject of lying about like pointless lying, my partner was telling me about when she was young. She said she was like 10, 12 or something, and then like there's her sisters and her brothers that were younger. They all came home from school one day, and her mum and dad were there in the hallway waiting for them. And when they came in, her mum and dad just announced, "We've won the lottery." And they were all really excited and like whooping and hugging each other and cheering, thinking like, are we millionaires now? And they're like, yes, we are. And she said this went on for like 5 minutes to the point where they started doing a conga line around the house with the mum and dad joining in, all singing, we are millionaires now, we are millionaires now, na, 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 and like jumping around the house. And then said like after like a good length of time, like a good like 5 or 10 minutes, they just went, yeah, we're not really, it was just a joke.
That's funny.
So to no end at all.
Yeah, but that is funny. That's like a jerk lie, isn't it? Like, that's funny. I probably wouldn't have found it funny if I was
Is it?
there. Yeah.
Is it?
I mean, these days it'd be awkward because, like, within seconds you'd have put it all over Twitter and Facebook,
Yeah, that's true.
and then you'd have to rein that back in.
I mean, there are people who've made a career out of pretending to be rich when they're not, and you just blag stuff for free, and you get stuff
Yeah.
on credit.
Yeah,
Now, they're big lies, aren't they? I mean, there's like the Ponzi scheme stuff. I mean, Bernie Madoff, he got like something like 1,000 years in prison
yeah,
for letting a lie get way out of control. I guess there's sometimes you're lying and you don't know that you're lying, and you go around like you perpetuate a myth, not like everybody on social media at the moment. I've made it one of my hobbies to dispel myths that people are putting out when they're lying, but they don't know that they're lying. So I don't think it's quite as bad. However, what it is irresponsible because they're not fact-checking something that they're then putting out into the rest of the world and expecting people to get angry about.
Yeah, I feel like a lie, you've got to be conscious that you are making up a lie for it to be a lie, because otherwise you're just
wrong.
Yeah.
You're just mistaken.
So what is your attitude on the line between a lie and an exaggeration that made a story funnier? I'm definitely guilty of that. Or cutting out bits of facts to make it funnier. I've definitely done it on the podcast.
Yeah,
I think you can leave out. It's here's the thing. This is something that me and Claire have discussed before. What if you just leave out some information? Is that a lie? You just decide to not tell someone something.
Yeah, like if you know something about someone and you decide not to tell them, but you still like speak to them, are you lying to them because you're withholding information?
Yeah. And or if you're asked a question about something and you think, well, I don't really want to tell you that, so you just don't tell them. But that might involve a bit of a lie. Like, I don't know, but you do know.
Yeah, well, when I was reading up on it yesterday, apparently a lie needs to be a statement that you actually say. So if you don't answer a question that you're asked, you're not technically lying, are you?
But what if you say, I don't know, and you do know?
Well, what a lot of people
That's a
do
lie
is to
then,
say,
isn't
I
it?
can't remember. And then if somebody says they can't remember something, it's very difficult to disprove that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know that when
remember.
my son has been in trouble at school, his defence has always been, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Which is really frustrating to us because it's just like, well, that's kind of saying, I did it, but I don't want to admit it. Because you're not saying, no, I didn't do that.
Another one is when people say, if you ask them something, they say, oh, why would you even ask me that? To me, that's basically, you might as well just say you're lying.
Yeah.
What's her trying to tie in the tables on you?
Yeah,
I can't believe you asked me that question.
Yeah, so they get out of actually telling you. All of these sort of answers are better than saying, I went to Barnard Castle to test my eyesight out with my 4-year-old child in the back of a car.
That's an elaborate lie, isn't it?
I mean, it's not even
Yeah.
elaborate, I don't think. I mean, it could, because it's so easily, like, it's so obviously a lie. But anyway, yeah. Never mind.
Yeah, that's a very topical one, but Jamie Rhodes, he comment just saying Dominic Cummings.
Yeah.
Maybe by the time this podcast comes out, the truth will be out. I mean, it won't, because the truth never does come out on things like that. But the current government that we have in the UK have mixed up reality and lies so much that I don't even know where we stand anymore, to the point where I've become disinterested in the truth. Now, if that was always the plan, well done. I don't know what to believe anymore, so therefore I'm not going to believe anything. They may as well just blatantly lie for so long to the fact that we get bored of it, which is what they've tried to do with the Dominic Cummings situation. They may as well be applying the 90s-based principle of lying developed by the thought leader, Shaggy, So when he's advising his friends that, picture this, we were both buck naked, banging on the bathroom floor, to which Shaggy says, just say, it wasn't me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in the lyrics of that song, she actually sees him do it. Just say it wasn't me. Just repeatedly, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. And therefore, at the end of it, it's just like, well, it doesn't really matter now, does it? We've all been forgotten about.
Fake it till you make it. Yeah.
It wasn't me, move on.
Wasn't me. I find it when you catch somebody out for lying and they won't admit it, it's so infuriating.
Yeah. I think that's dickheadery. You've got to just kind of... But then I suppose it might be hard to admit it, like embarrassing if you've been caught out on a lie. So you might just feel defensive.
But it depends how long
maybe.
you let it go on for.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm talking here about in the position of fatherhood. So there'll be a bar of chocolate that I've been waiting for. I will go to get my bar of chocolate. My bar of chocolate is now gone, right? I've been alone in the home with me and my two sons. Somebody has eaten the chocolate, but under interrogation, it turns out nobody's eaten the chocolate. And they just lie and they lie about it, and I get furious. Now, if they'd have said, no, I'm really sorry, I just really fancy some chocolate, that would be the end of the matter. But it's just the denial makes it into a bigger issue. And I'll tell you a link to that. My most frustrating lie happens when you're in a small group of people, and then you start to smell a fart. And then you say, who's farted? And nobody will admit to it. And it becomes a much bigger issue. It's just like, if you can't admit that you farted, what kind of person are you? If you can't just like take responsibility for some air that came out from your bowels, pushed past some poo particles, and therefore caused an unpleasant odour, right? If you can't admit that, what are you going to go on? You're going to be an adulterer. You might even be a murderer. You're definitely going to commit fraud. You can't be trusted around children. What kind of person are you going to grow up to be?
Wow. So there's consequences of lying.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just like a spiral, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I bet when he was a kid, Dominic Cummings didn't admit to his farts.
Yeah,
I bet
probably.
anybody in the cabinet didn't admit to their farts. That's the kind of person you're going to grow up to be. Actually, yeah, quite wildly rich and successful, so...
Talking about a lie leading to catastrophic events, I remember when I was quite young and we were in France. We were walking across a road and a car came around the corner and beeped at us, and I pulled my tongue out at the driver. And my mum told me, don't do that, that's how wars are started. Which I now realise it's definitely not how wars are started. I don't think a war has ever started from a small child putting his tongue out at someone. To my knowledge, I'm no history expert, but I'm going to throw it out there. It's not a lie because I'm unaware of what I'm saying, of the truth of, I haven't fact checked it, but if it's not true, then that's fine.
Did it stop you
was
from
your
doing
mum
it,
lying?
though?
I think my mum was lying to me.
But was she lying for the greater good?
Probably
I think
because she's
so.
trying to stop me pulling my tongue out at people.
And possibly in her mind trying to prevent a war?
And yeah, maybe in her mind trying to prevent a war. And if so, then, hats off to her. She's done the world a service there. And she should probably be recognised for that.
Your mum, in many ways, was like the originator of Don't Be a Dickhead.
Yeah, yeah,
It starts with sticking your tongue out.
yeah,
It ends with lying to a nation.
yeah, yeah. Wow.
She's a hero.
She is, yeah. So, there we go.
So I get really frustrated when people just lie completely unnecessarily when they know that they're going to get caught out on that lie, but they did it to buy themselves time because they can't face the reality then. I saw a great example of this a few years ago. We were at an event. We were waiting for some equipment to be delivered. I'd come off the call in which they said we are 6 hours away. I told my manager they're 6 hours away, who then went and told the client, yeah, they'll be here in an hour. So what happened is, for that moment, it dispelled the fury of the client of the thing that was later than we promised. But then an hour comes and they ask again, and then she tells them, oh yeah, it'll be here in an hour. So that's going to happen 5 times now before it arrives. Where it's just a kind of like a cycle of rage and kind of getting away. Whereas if we'd have just told the truth, surely that would have been the easier thing to do. And actually that's become, that experience, I think about it quite often, because I just think it's just easier to tell the truth, and it's certainly something that I apply to business. If you fucked up, just admit it, right? Don't just buy yourself more time, because all you're going to do is breed greater resentment. Not particularly funny story, but wanted to share it on the issue of lying.
Some people just can't help it, though. I feel like some people, that's just in their nature, just to lie.
I know somebody who is a habitual liar. And in our childhood, he really caused reputational damage to me through his lies. So a kid who lived up my street for a joke, wrote a series of death threats to another kid who lived down my street, let's call him Sammy Fixes Gerbils, right? That's what we used to call him. And I didn't know anything about this. The first I found out about this was when his dad was going absolutely mental at me in a 10-foot, whole story. I have a lot of incidents in 10 foots, for listeners of the show will know. Going absolutely mental for frightening his son. And I just didn't know what he was talking about. And then parents got involved. And it just all got pinned on me. So they'd suspected one kid who then pinned it on me. And the parents all left furious. And there was me and the other kid left who then just said to me, yeah, it was me. And I was just like, well, you could have said that when all the adults were there. And they all hated me because they thought I had gone through a campaign of hate against this lad. And I had absolutely nothing to do with it other than the fact that I just lived down his street.
Did it improve your street cred?
Well, it couldn't have worsened my street cred. I wouldn't say it improved my... No, I don't think that's the kind of thing that anybody looks up to, do they? You anonymously frightened
I don't know,
a child.
like the other kids might sort of think, oh, don't mess with him, he'll
write you a letter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no. I mean, if I'd have killed him, then that might have been a bit more frightening. But just writing a letter, threatening it. But yeah, that again, injustice sticks by me. And I know who that person was in the lie. And I'm actually friends with that person now. So I've managed to forgive them over time. But if you're listening, Sammy Fixes Gerbils, or any of your family, wasn't me. And then, unlike Shaggy, I'm telling the truth.
That's an amazing name, Sammy Fixes Gerbils.
Yeah, where did
That's not
that
his
come
real
from?
name. Another lie that was a complicated lie that I experienced in secondary school. This again, probably not going to make the podcast, but was a lie going around about me losing my virginity. And I was a virgin at the time. But the story was that I shagged this girl and used a crisp packet as a condom, which was a lie that was being spread around the school by the girl. So I was slightly conflicted on this because it was like quite cool to have lost your virginity at this point, but it wasn't cool to use crisp packets as a contraceptive.
That sounds
I mean,
horrific.
I didn't go along with the lie. I made the judgment call to say, this is not a true...
Did the girl expect kudos from this?
I don't know. I don't know
That's
what
really
she was thinking.
strange.
Teenagers do strange things, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, she was quite a close friend, but she fancied me, and it did damage our relationship.
And she
Could
liked
have
Chris.
just said she slept with
Yeah.
you. Why did the crisp packet have to come in? Like, did you think that would
And then,
make
like
it more
kids do, they
believable?
had details to story and go, oh, it was John shagged her, and he used a cheese and onion Walkers as a Johnny. It's just like...
Sorry.
Because people was like laughing, I was just like, what's going on? It was just like, oh, well, we've heard what you did. And I was like, well, what did I do? And I was just like, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, so obviously I didn't have much street cred that people did believe that story.
Like Scampy Knickknacks would have been the best one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, or smoky bacon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
dear.
My friend, in order to get out of trouble once, they were caught by their mum and dad with some cannabis. They found it in her wardrobe at her house, and they're like, or in her bedroom, you know. And they like confronted her about it and said like, "What's this?" And they were really angry with her for having the cannabis at the house. And you don't bring drugs into our house. So she decided, while she was getting told off, the best way to combat this was to show them how bad it could be, and just came out with, "I'm pregnant." And told her mum and dad she was pregnant. Then they got even more angry, and then she told them, "I'm not really pregnant, but think about how bad it could be. I'm
That's
actually quite good."
effective, yeah.
So, and that was the way that she decided to try and
Diffuse the
get out of
situation.
having drugs in her bedroom. Yeah.
Did it work?
So in that way, no, it didn't. They were even more mad that she just lied to them. But in that way, a lie was used as a way of controlling the peace.
That's it, yeah.
I do. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like the idea of that. Sometimes we lie to ourselves, don't we?
Yes, yeah.
We convince ourselves of like we've got like a reality filter or something, and that can be to protect ourselves from the truth that we're rubbish at something, or it could be to protect ourselves from something bad that we don't want to admit. Like Jim Carrey in the movie Me, Myself and Irene, who convinces himself that the 3 black triplets are his children. Or it could be about where we just filter out stuff, like cherry picking stuff. So I've talked about this on the podcasting before about how wonderful my school camping trip was, because I've choose to filter out all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
I think all holidays are like that.
Yeah.
We'll maybe discuss that on the upcoming episode of Holidays, where you talk about a brilliant holiday, but you've managed to filter out all of the boring bits of waiting around and stuck in queues and so on.
I think that happens a lot in relationships as well. People try and convince themselves that everything's like fine, don't they, sometimes? And I know especially people that say if like they get cheated on or something, they convince themselves that like it's not true. You lie to yourself, I think.
So the Shaggy effect has a secondary kind of impact. So Shaggy said it wasn't true, and then I've told myself it's not true, so therefore it didn't happen.
But it's, yeah.
I think Shaggy's to blame for this entire episode.
It wasn't him.
It bloody was.
It was the music industry.
I'm starting to doubt it now.
Because when I did a little bit of research on
where
this
should we go?
yesterday, the Paul Ekman group, they did like 9 motives for telling lies, and the main one on there is avoiding punishment.
Well, if
Fun.
you're trying to protect yourself from punishment, it could be a massive lie, like O.J. Simpson.
I'm
or,
protecting others from punishment.
What they call him, Oscar Pistorius. But sometimes people just have like really unnecessary lies, and there's 2 main reasons for it. One is the one you've already said, and I had a really surreal experience once of being in a meeting where I was the subject of somebody's lie, whilst they were trying to impress me, and it was a meeting with somebody from a radio station, and we were talking about another project. And then they said, oh, we do stuff with the Hull Comedy Festival, which I'm the founder of and was at the time the director. And she said, oh, yes, I do lots of work with John Gilbert. Now, that's me. And she was telling me that. And I was like, what do I do now? Do I crucify you as a liar? Or do I go, oh, that's really interesting. I said, I know John. Which was possibly even more dickheadery, because later down the line she would realise...
So who did you wear?
Well, I don't know. I just don't think
This is brilliant.
it was. I didn't really know how to deal with the situation, because I mean, there was other people at the meeting, so I thought it's a bit harsh to hang around. Plus, there were other people who knew that was
sounds so
me.
awkward.
So I almost didn't need. So it would have been just a really cringy, horrible, and it was a really unnecessary lie, because knowing me is not going to impress anybody, least of all me. So it was a really strange, really strange situation. It was like a really unnecessary lie. And
That's a bit like when you meet someone. This has happened to me a few times. When you meet someone in the street and they're like, oh, hiya, and you're like, oh, hiya, and you don't really know who they are, and then they stop to chat, and you're like, oh, for God's sake. And so you've got to chat, and then you don't realise that you're going to stop to chat, and so then you've got to stop there, and then they start asking you questions, and you try and get around it, but then they ask you a question that there's no getting out of, and you've just got to say, I'm really sorry, I don't know who you are. That's happened to me a few times.
Yeah, that makes me just want to...
how does that go down?
Well, the worst one, I think, was probably when, and it's happened to me, where someone said, like, oh, how you doing? How's your mum? Yeah, it's fine, yeah. And then they'll say, like, and how's, like, I don't know, Becky or something like that. And you'll be like, sorry, I don't know who Becky is. Oh, Becky, blah, blah, blah. You know, we went to Mark Lambert together. I'm like, yeah, I'm really sorry, I didn't go to Mark Lambert. I don't think we know each other. And they were, oh, right, sorry. So we've had this full conversation without actually knowing each other as well, which has been pretty awkward.
I think that comes from you being on stage, though. I think people will recognise you and therefore think that they know you.
Oh, so it's just a downside of being famous.
It's because you're famous.
Wow. Oh, wow, I'd never thought of that before. I'm going to take that.
That's
I
actually
don't think it's
happened
true, but I'm
where
going to take
people
it.
who have told me that they know you, and then I've mentioned them to you, and you have no idea
You're
who they
so
are.
popular,
Yeah.
Ian.
Happens to you a lot, Ian. You're kind of a
It
big
does.
deal.
I often get men coming up to me and saying things like, oh, here he is. And I'll be like, oh, I don't really know you. Yeah, mate, you swang your knob in my wife's face or something like that.
What's wonderful is that when we put this podcast out, it's going to sound like we edited that to stitch you
No.
up. But actually,
Just
we
leave you
didn't have
to
to. It doesn't need any context.
That is, I'd like to point out that is part of a comedy sketch.
Okay, we'll leave that bit in.
And it's not my real knob.
So what else have the DBAD community been saying?
So we've had a message from Sally Gilbert. She said, a guy I worked with who kept lying and saying he couldn't come into work because his grandma had died. I think he lost about 6 of them before we pointed this out to him.
I mean, this is interesting because I remember this, but I don't remember it happening 6 times. So Sally may have slightly exaggerated to make this a better story.
The liar.
But we've established that that's a good lie.
That is a good lie, yeah.
It made the story. I mean, the truth is it only happened once. And she had actually died. It doesn't make it a good story.
Oh, I think laughing at the death of a grandma is a good place to leave it.
Say no more.
So what have we learned today? We've learned that lying is sometimes justifiable if it's about making people feel better. It's all about the intention of the lie, isn't it? You shouldn't be telling lies to pick yourself up because you're probably amazing as you are, and you certainly shouldn't be lying to make people feel bad, and you certainly shouldn't be lying if it then sets a dangerous precedent during lockdown for the rest of the country. And on that note, thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this, please do subscribe, rate and review wherever you get your podcast. Tell everybody about the Don't Be a Dickhead movement because we're just trying to change the world one step at a time. I've been John Gilbert.
I've been Ian Thompson.
3, 2,
I've been Alex King.
1.
And remember, don't be a dickhead.